Today has to do with thought. It has to do with transcending thought. The transcendence of thought is automatic. It's not something you have to do, acquire. It's not a discipline. It comes from a way of contextualizing yourself and contextualizing life so that you become that which is thoughtless. You become that which is thoughtless by virtue of how you contextualize the meaning of your life and the meaning of life altogether. Why does the mind think at all? Why does the mind think at all? Good question. The mind really thinks because of anxiety and because of safety. It really thinks because of survival. I don't know what to do with this thing in the meantime. Anyway, I guess you hold it. Okay, thank you. I never know what the body's doing. It's saying, what do I do with this thing? I don't know what to do with this thing. I'd have to think about it. That's why people around are very useful. You say, what is that for? You say, you hit that and you get a spot. I said, whoa, that's great. You see, you don't really have to know anything at all. Somebody around knows, and as long as somebody knows, it's fine. Once you understand the reality of your own existence, thought comes to a slow intermittency instead of a continuous torture. There's really no necessity to think about anything once you understand who you are and what life is. What does the mind usually do? It thinks about the future and it thinks about the past. It ruminates about the past. And what is the past? Well, if the ego is determining your perception now, it did also in the past. So you can't remember reality in the first place. You can only remember the ego's perceptions, which are all distorted and BS. So there's nothing in the past that's real. Inasmuch as it's not real, there's no point in ruminating and trying to correct it. I wish I'd said that. I wish I hadn't done that. The way to handle the past was well expressed by Bill Wilson, who was the founder of AA, who had an enlightening experience, which transformed a good part of society and introduced and made us realize the healing power of spiritual concepts. Bill said, there's only one thing you got to do about the past: have a decent regret. Have a decent regret and live differently. End of story. Is that agreeable to everyone? Yes. A decent regret. And say, if you were God, what would you say to a person? You killed all those people, man, and you slaughtered all them people. Are you sorry? I am. You're forgiven. If he's not sorry, you send him back to the light world and let him live it all over again until he's sorry. Then he comes up. You just stay there till you're sorry. Isn't that what it's all about? Once you've realized that you're sorry for what happened in the past and you're going to accept a new way of living, what more is there to life? Well, there's the future. Uh-oh. We just took care of the past. All your memories of the past are distorted perceptions, because if you went through the past in an enlightened state, you wouldn't remember anything about it, because nothing happens. Nothing to recall except projections. When you see they're all projections, they lose their lure. What about the future? Well, the future has to do with anxiety. It has to do with planning. It has to do with anticipated disasters and misfortunes. What if we run out of gas on the highway, etc.? What if the world's going to be hit by a meteor? There's always somebody predicting the end of the world. Think of all the fortunes that have been made by various people predicting the end of the world. There's always a new book. And it usually comes out of some mystical thing, like you count the number of whiskers in a seal's mustache, and you multiply that by the stones in the pyramid, and divide that by the number of chapters of books in the Bible. You multiply that by a sacred number, and you come up with 5082. All right, man, we'll give you a new date. The world is coming to an end in 5082. How does that affect your life? Not at all. There's all these books that predict the end of the world in thousands of years. I don't know why anybody wants to buy them. You're not going to be here, so. They said next week it'd be worth reading. In Sedona, we've got all kinds of people like that. There's one guy, and he has a funny way of making his hair and all. And, every 5 or 10 years, he's got a new prediction. If I predict the world's going to end in such and such a year and it didn't, man, I just fold up my tent. I just say, oops, and find something else to do. No, these people don't even have that. Yeah, they come back next year, they got a new prediction that they counted the ruins in the Temple of Karnak wrong, and measured it in sacred geometry and came up with 2043. Oh, okay. I always tell these people, if you're going to predict the end of the world, make it far in the future, man, so that when they're all gone, nobody will ever know you're wrong. Those who have a decent regret, a really heartfelt regret for human error. You see, the human is built, he's fallible. Therefore, errors are certain. If you haven't made serious errors in your life, you're a liar. To say you haven't made serious errors in your life is already a serious error. We've all screwed up mightily, and that is supposed to be one style of learning. I wouldn't recommend it myself, but I didn't create the universe, so. So the past is a decent regret, a heartfelt, genuine regret for the limitations of the human ego and the physical body and all that goes with it. And you've only got one sin in the past anyway, that's ignorance. And ignorance is due to naivete. And therefore, as Christ said, forgive them for they know not what they do. And the Buddha said the same thing. So the one sin of the past from which all human beings suffer is ignorance, not knowing the full truth. This is a condition of all of society and doesn't make you special. Oh, Lord, how I've sinned. People make a big drama. There's a whole trip about ashes and sackcloth and suffering and self-flagellation and guilt and misery. And these are people that are, that are, bang, looking for God at the bottom of the chart. Shame, guilt, griefs. Oh, God, how I have sinned. Okay. That gets rid of a little guilt. I mean, I'm not going to put it down. Except after a while you feel guilty that you did that, but that's beside the point. I was looking for God down here, and then I heard a lecture that said he was up here, and that changed my life. Oh. So everything in the past is washed out. There's no point to think about the past because there's no reality there. If you were in a state of reality, as I said, there wouldn't be any past. All right, so the next thing is fear. Fear has to do with not realizing that you're safe at all times. Well, the brain, the mind will instantly manufacture conditions and take examples from the past to try and justify that fear is a rational condition. That you have to think, you have to think fearfully of the future. So the future, then, has to do with control, trying to control the future. All this is premised on survival is due to the ego. And as you get more sophisticated, you realize that survival is not a product of the ego, it's a product of the spirit. the mind becomes silent automatically with the realization that you are absolutely safe. And even if you aren't, so what? So you die. Dying is a certainty. So accepting the certainty of death, then what can we do about the future? You can be devoted to all that is sacred. Be devoted to beauty. Be devoted to all that is sacred. You see, the beauty, as we came here this morning, it was stunning. The only difficulty with beauty is it makes you cry, and you shouldn't be driving. Susie said, "What are you crying about this morning?" I said, "I don't know, it's just the snow. It's just..." When it snows in Sedona, you cry with happiness. Anyway, first time we've had it all year. So, to be aware and to be aligned with, to honor divinity and all of its expressions, to be sensitive to the beauty that exists at every moment in all things. Therefore, the spiritual pathway through this world is only a way of being, and you become that. That's why I'm not crazy about various techniques, breathing and sitting in strange ways and contorting your body and sucking your stomach so it's against your spine and weird things. It's only necessary to just be who you really are. That is a divine state. And one walks through the world on the wings of truth. The divine state reveals itself when you realize the truth of your own existence. So therefore, how you contextualize your life then is how you present yourself to the world, and it's what you are to the world. The universe responds in like. When you are thus to the world is thus to thee. And you walk safely through the hail of bullets, and if one's meant for you, so. And if you come out the other side, then there wasn't one meant for you. So that is the way it goes. So that's complete surrender, is it not? All right, so for the past is eliminated by the realization that a decent regret is all that's necessary. Let's make sure about that. A decent, heartfelt regret does indeed undo the past. Oh Lord, amen. Resist. It does indeed undo the past. In one instant, that's all it takes. So you can stop ruminating and trying to rewrite the past. You're lying in bed. I should have said this. I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have bought this stock. I should have bought this stock. I shouldn't have bought that stock. I should have. So the past was a learning program. And what's the point of that learning? The point of that learning is for you to have a decent regret about it and let it go. To stop dragging it around. I don't want to hear other people's chains dragging. They come up, after a lecture, and they want to give me about, oh, I did this, and I did that, and then she died, and I wasn't there, and my mother-in-law was having her gallbladder out, and boy, oh boy, I say. Susie's daughter says, "You're the Bill O'Reilly of spirituality." I just say to the lady, cut it out, man. Don't drag me along with your sad story. I don't want to go there. Those are people who, you see, wallow in the past because their ego is sucking the juices out of it. You see the juices the ego gets out of wallowing in the past? Sackcloth and ashes, all the drama. It's drama. Drama. You're also trying to control God and tell him what to do. Forgive you, because look how you suffer. That's blackmail. All people try to blackmail God with suffering. You realize how you're trying? That's a control thing, isn't it? God is this awful parent, and if you just suffer and wallow in guilt, then he'll forgive you. You don't have to manipulate God because God is a condition. Non-manipulable, like a giant electrostatic field. All right. That's the past. The future then is surrendering to the will of God completely with no reservation. And that's a way of being in the world, a way of being in the world. And it's letting go of wanting to control the world, control the future. If you have a negative view of yourself, then you expect the worst in the future and you begin to plan for the worst because you're extrapolating, you're projecting out there what you think you are. Don't think what you are at all. Just be what you are and don't think about it. How can you just be what you are? You can do it in one instant. Be willing to accept what I'm saying to you right now with no reservation. Isn't that easy? If I tell you E equals MC squared, I don't want some smart ass to get up there and start to argue with the mathematics of it. I'm telling you, E equals MC squared, get it? Yeah. Jeez, right, it's so simple. I mean, everybody can see it, it's just matter, it's just energy, condensed energy. I mean, you don't have to even go to school to figure that one out. Once somebody explains it to you. So we accept things on faith. We accept things on faith. To completely surrender one's will to God then means whatever happens in the future happens in the future. Don't worry about the mind going silent and leaving us stranded. That's everybody. I get letters from like that all the time. I'm meditating and my mind stops, and that scares me because how will I survive? Well, maybe you won't. I don't know what she wants to survive for. She's all the way home. I mean, why not just be there? What about the kids? Let God worry about the kids. Let the world worry about the kids. Yes, this week one came that way. We said, let God worry about the kids. If you bliss out, you bliss out. Somebody blisses out, you sit them down, you put a tin cup next to them, and people walk by. Your mother-in-law comes and gets the cups, empties it every hour. Children are okay, don't worry about it. So we let go of wanting to change the past, and we let go of wanting to control the future. When that's done at a profound depth, one realizes that you are safe. Not because it says so in a book, but because you realize that. As I stand here, you don't see any past hanging off of me. You see any past anywhere? I don't see any past. One is a karmic product at this moment. That which stands here is where evolution is at this moment. Okay. So the present is the finish of the past. With spiritual realization, which you come by through contemplation, it's really a contemplative matter. As you walk about, you say, who am I to myself anyway? Who am I to the world? What am I to life? What is my relationship to life? You begin to, when you reverence all that is beautiful, when you reverence all that is divine by virtue of its existence, then you walk about in a different state. Out of that state arises a conviction of safety. the mind will start up periodically when it needs to tell you something. Not because it's coming from the mind, but because it's coming from the spirit. If you need to know something, the spirit will see to it that you remember to take your vitamins. The ego doesn't. It takes credit for it. But it's really the spirit acting through your wife that reminds you. Who sees to it that you eat and all those things. She has a big thing about eating, I don't know. Every few days, I suppose. Because people are concerned about the body, and I'm not, if you're not concerned about the body, other people worry about it. So if you need to eat something, somebody will tell you that. So you don't have to think about when will I eat next or what am I going to eat next, because it's all handled. It's all handled by the nature of life. So I want everybody here to feel profoundly safe. You're safe from your past. Is there anybody here who lacks a decent regret for the past? I'll help them. Anybody? Anybody who doesn't have a decent regret for the past? We just confirmed that that's all you need. You don't have to invoke God's mercy, right? You don't have to invoke the mercy of an electrostatic condenser. When you put a charge, it crackles, and when there's no charge, it doesn't crackle. You don't say, "Oh dear, electrostatic condenser, give me that present of thy presence." The past is over, so you only have to look at the future. The future you surrender to God, so you don't have to worry about that. That leaves you in the present, whatever that is. Does anybody have any thoughts about the present?
That's a trick question.
You have to make one up, don't you? You don't really have any thoughts about the present. All right, so if you give up wallowing in the past and trying to rewrite history and make yourself look better, cleaner, brighter, and smarter, and if you don't have to worry about your survival in the future, and nothing's going on in the present as you can see, then there's nothing for the mind to think about. The mind becomes silent. Actually, the mind doesn't have to become silent. The mind is silent. What are you doing there?
I'm just shading the screen for that.
Shading the screen. Oh. I see what you're doing. I thought you were sending me mysterious signals or something. Don't think about it. Well, you see, when you have to think, all of a sudden a thought comes out. It says, it's a thought of curiosity. What is she doing with that card there? So I don't have to worry that I won't think about things when I should think about things. You understand? You surrender your thoughts to God because they aren't worth anything anyway, other than E = MC squared, and you don't know what that means anyway. But all I'm saying is we take certain things on faith. We take certain things on faith. That somebody who's been there will tell you how it is, and you just say, "Oh." The big mistake is to argue with them. Marco Polo went to China, he came back, and I'm sure a lot of people thought he was making up stories, but that was their problem. I've been to China, just the way he said it was. So what we're talking about is faith and confidence and wisdom.